It says, "In the beginning, Adonai created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was profoundly empty, and the darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the water. And God said, 'Let there be light.' And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And God separated between the light and the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day." So light was divided from darkness on day 1, yet not until day 4 were the sun, moon, and stars and luminous celestial bodies created. To this dichotomy, Torah commentators, even thousands of years ago, answered that the light described on day 1 was not optical light. Rather, it was the light of awareness. This tells us that the earliest, wisest rabbis perceived the Torah not as literal fact, but as writing filled with meaningful metaphor. The word Israel means God wrestler. The most devoted are expected to wrestle with the highest spiritual questions and interpret the meaning. Well, jumping ahead, on the 6th day, Adam was created and given the task of naming the beasts and plant life. The Garden of Eden was prepared, and Adam was placed in it. There, a female partner, Eve, was gifted to Adam. Together in the garden, the Torah says, the man and the woman were both naked, but they were not ashamed. In the garden, the Almighty created edible fruit-bearing trees and then forbade the first humans to eat from one particular tree. "You shall not eat of it, and you shall not touch it, lest you die." Both Adam and Eve encounter the serpent in the garden, who encourages them to eat the forbidden fruit. To the serpent, Eve speaks up, repeating God's warning. The knowing serpent assures them, "You will surely not die, for the Almighty knows that on the day you eat thereof, your eyes will be opened, and you will be as gods, knowing good and evil." Well, with that, Adam and Eve eat the forbidden fruit, and their eyes are opened. Suddenly aware of their nakedness, they sew fig leaves to cover themselves. Before, no shame. Then knowledge of good and evil. Then shame. This first negative emotion to befall humanity degrades how we feel about ourselves based on our concern for how we are viewed and considered by others. Psychotherapy researcher Brené Brown defines shame as an intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Having failed to follow their first instructions, Adam and Eve heard the sound of God moving about in the garden and hid among the trees. The Creator called out, and Adam replied, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." Creator asked, "How did you know you were naked? Did you eat from the tree of knowledge?" On the heels of defying the first commandment of the Almighty comes the second transgression of humanity: blame. Instead of taking responsibility for his free will actions, Adam blames Eve for offering him the forbidden fruit. Then Eve, refusing to own her free will actions, blames the serpent. We blame in order to discharge our discomfort and pain. The feeling of being wrong and therefore unworthy of love and belonging is so unbearable that we often foist those bad feelings on our most beloved. Well, upon the first breaths of life by the first humans, the battle between genders began with shame and blame. Ignoring the voice of conscience, empathy, and higher consciousness, we disappoint ourselves in the eyes of spirit. The story that follows is of Cain and Abel, the first sons of Adam and Eve. The takeaway of this parable recognizes the perils of sibling rivalry and the consequences of favoring one child over another. Cain, the firstborn, was a farmer, and his brother, Abel, was a shepherd. The brothers made sacrifices to the Almighty. It says, Cain brought from the fruit of the soil an offering to Adonai, and Abel too brought from the choice firstlings of his flock. And Adonai regarded Abel and his offering, but did not regard Cain and his offering. So the Creator favored Abel's meat sacrifice and paid no attention to Cain's produce. Cain murdered Abel. Cain was punished with a life of wandering. Shame and blame eventually brought him to dwell in the land of Nod, the Hebrew word for wandering, where he built a city and fathered many descendants, beginning with Enoch. He made good from his suffering. In order to orient ancient and modern people to the world and universe around us, creation myths assign meaning to how it all began and give us insight into the most important life matters we all share, no matter our differences. These stories offer archetypal illustrations to life's mystic patterns and cultivate interpretations that are agreeable to an aesthetic culture that shares music, art, writing, and performance. I'll leave you with a quote by the renowned scholar of myths, Joseph Campbell. Life has no meaning. Each of us has meaning, and we bring it to life. It is a waste to be asking the question when you are the answer. Thank you.